to order the June 18th, 2024 town meeting of the Town of Ulysses Planning Board. So for the first item, can we do a roll call for the record?
Rebecca Schneider.
Bart Gregg,
Linda Little, Chair.
Mo Klein,
Carl Klingowski on Zoom.
Oh, Carl's on Zoom.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Thanks for
Good.
doing it while you're
Thanks,
traveling.
Carl, I
This
didn't
is-
see you. And Michael, nice to see you there too. Okay, so our agenda for tonight. Our plan for tonight is to, first of all, I'd like to move the new business to the top of the agenda. So that we
Okay.
can keep our old business at the bottom.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that makes more sense, and we don't have to bore everyone with our old business.
And I want to add an item to the end of the agenda for 10 minutes, conversation about what happened at the town board last week with the agricultural district change. Okay. And
Okay.
give you an update and kind of a conversation about that.
Yeah, good.
Thank
I had that too, yeah. So we'll, on the agenda, we have the review of the Woodring accessory structure sketch plan, the Namaste Montessori School expansion sketch plan review. And then we'll talk about board member training and potential zoning code amendments and the ag district team discussion.
I will approve the agenda with the amendments.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes, any corrections to the minutes? I actually have a couple corrections. In the old business, Molly, when you talked about Crystal Buck and we were talking about the ag district, I think we need to add a comment saying that we added, because Crystal was there for the legislature, we asked her to give us comments about the legislature meeting regarding the ag district. Just as a preface to it, personally, beg your pardon?
Which comment?
Under old business, let me find it. Okay, so we're under proposed addition to ag district, the first item. The board reviewed the discussion and decisions surrounding the parcel. Proposed to be added to ag district 2. Let's see, how about saying, we asked Crystal Buck, because she was already in our meeting, to comment on the legislature meeting regarding this parcel. And just as a way of introducing her to why she was there, right?
Molly, I didn't get them. You saw them? Yeah, because I haven't seen them.
Oh, they were in the minute. She does it by linking to the,
Oh, she did? Oh, that's probably why I missed it. I'll look.
yeah,
She does it by, we have to go to the website.
yeah,
I sent you an update.
we'll do it.
Like, but we should,
Just see you.
They were, that's where I got them, yeah.
I don't.
Do you want to wait till I have a couple changes, maybe I have a couple other changes, maybe we'll make the changes and do the minutes at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
because
would
I don't
be good.
have it, I don't, on the link, I just see the agenda, but I don't see minutes link.
Right, it was an earlier link,
It was.
Yeah.
That's why.
probably, but if you go into planning board meeting. where
There's
did
a
I put
link.
it?
The
Yeah,
agendas, minutes, and meeting videos.
and then you'll see draft minutes,
Draft minutes, yeah, but I
yeah,
didn't get it here. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, so why don't we wait till the next meeting?
Okay, I'll give you a couple of other changes. So at the end of that second to a comment that the discussion will be continued at the next meeting when additional planning board members are available. Okay. And then, unless I missed it, I didn't see that where we talked about adding the education and town code alignment as as permanent agenda items. That was at the very end, and we did it kind of quickly. So,
Under the member reports.
was it?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, because,
we were talking about at the beginning of the meeting. So it's under approval of agenda,
oh, is it? Okay, hold on a second. We
it
did.
just says regular discussions. There are training potential amendments. So
Okay, that works. It's fine with me, thanks. I didn't see that. Okay.
Um,
Do the
yeah,
minutes,
there's something else too.
Pardon?
I'm not seeing where Crystal Buck stated that the,
Yeah, that's what I was
Client-
just adding.
okay, the client
That's-
saying
Yeah, that's what I
they
just
didn't even
added.
ask for. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
right,
sorry.
right. Yeah,
Make
I
it-
agree.
Gotcha.
Good
Yeah.
catch. All right. So then we'll do, let's see. Privilege of the, so now it's time for privilege of the floor. Let's see, we have. This we may have privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity for members of the public to make comments to the planning board on past issues, current issues, whatever. And we will take, there's folks online and in the room. If there's anyone that would like to say something to the planning board, this is the time you may do that. If you do, we'd like you to state your name for an address for the record. You're allowed 3 minutes to present and we'll alternate online and in the room. So we'll start with in the room. Does anyone in the room like to address the board? Okay, that was easy, thank you. Anyone online? Okay,
Linda,
yes,
I'm going to save mine for the board member update at the end.
yeah, that's fine, Michael, thanks.
Okay,
Uh,
and then mine is about the Moores update. That's what I wanted to talk about there.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep, thanks, Michael. All right, anyone else online would like to make comments to the board? I saw somebody just joined. If you're interested in commenting, since I don't see a name. You can,
someone joined by phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then,
Linda,
yes,
the 5462436 number is mine.
oh,
But
well,
Is that the one you're looking at?
yep,
Yeah.
that's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah. I wanted
So
to
you're-
do it two ways
yes.
because I've tried this before and then the Zoom didn't work and you guys couldn't hear me. So just wanted to make sure that we had a connection.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for the heads up. All right, I'm a motion to close privilege of the floor.
Second, Rebecca.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is closed. So the first agenda item is the Woodring site plan review. The applicant, so I'm not sure who's here to represent. Are you Mark?
I'm Mark.
Okay, Mark, thanks. Nice to meet you.
Nice. to meet you.
The applicant, Mark Martinek, on behalf of the property owners, Jeff and Nicole Woodring, proposes to construct a new deck and walkway adjacent to an existing dwelling unit and concrete patio. Per the code of the town of Ulysses, accessory buildings are permitted and the new patio is an accessory, considered by our code, an accessory building.
Okay.
Validate that. Are permitted in the lakeshore zone, but require a site plan review within a slope overlay. So based on that, what we need to do tonight is to create a checklist of additional items that the board will require, if any. Determine whether a public hearing will be required, and then to determine which public notice procedures are required. All right, so Mark, would you like to talk about the project a little bit for us? Give us an overview, quick overview. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Mark Martinek, Green Scene, Nicole and Jeff Woodring reached out to me to quote, some work they wanted to do with their home at 61 Maplewood. They had me draw up some more extensive plans of doing some other things, and then because of costs and estimates, they backed off to what I have circled on the plan, which is covering an existing 16 by 16 concrete pad with a new deck. They want me to change the creosote, railroad tie timber retaining wall from the creosote ties to large timbers. And then add about an 80 square feet addition of deck to tie the two entrance doors together, which right now are not. It's just a rough grade in between the two, so.
Okay.
That's what I've drawn up, and that's what they've asked me to try and do for them.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. So anybody on the board have questions for Mark? Or discussions about it?
It's pretty straightforward, and you're actually putting the deck on top of that concrete. You all sent us some nice photographs. I didn't get to visit it, so I don't know what the topography is there. Is it pretty steep? Yeah, real steep.
It's
So,
somewhat, yeah.
okay, so then my only concern would be where the new 80 square foot is gonna go. You're gonna have more runoff because you're putting a surface there. It might, do you have any thoughts about what you're gonna do from the runoff from that additional 80 square feet?
I guess my feeling on it is it's still a deck with tracks, and I have a 3/16 gap in between all the deck boards too. So
Okay.
the way I look at it,
What
it's
is gonna go
truly,
right in the deck?
it's gonna
Okay,
go
fine.
down to the same ground level
Yep.
it was before.
Okay,
Plus, as you've seen from pictures, there's a floor drain at the base of the basement door that also drains water away. Now, I know Bart and I talked about that yesterday. I was out there for a couple hours this afternoon. I ran a hose in that drain for 40 minutes. Never saw where it came out, so I have no idea where it goes.
Okay.
We scoured the whole hillside, and I truly don't know unless we do a scope where that water
Right.
goes. But at this point, I feel like we're not changing anything
That's
in
what
the
sounds like.
drainage.
Yep.
Okay.
What are the highlighted lines on the map? We have it highlighted, I don't know about you have.
Oh, I don't know.
it says
Right.
power line at the top.
Is
of
that
it.
what that
Talking about
is?
those yellow things?
Yeah,
Yeah, right up top of there, it says power lines. I don't see the
Oh.
green where it says old, oh, there it is, old law,
Or existing.
old to be removed, but the yellow are the power lines.
okay, yeah, it doesn't say power lines, but now I see what it is, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I
So
see
it's
the
an easement for the power
Mhm.
lines,
Right
Yeah,
up there.
Right.
Right at the top,
right there.
yeah, right above the line that encompasses.
Oh,
that.
that's, yeah, I
Yep,
didn't,
got it.
yeah,
Yep,
that, right
yep,
on the
okay.
side there, yes, now I see it.
Mark, I want to express something here.
Yes.
I don't have any real concerns about this project at all, as, you know, I just don't. I do have a smidgen of a concern about runoff coming off the end of the tracks. I understand the gap, I understand how most of it will actually come down through the tracks into, on top of the original concrete, which is
Right.
gonna remain and then sort of run down that slope. If nothing else, I want your clients to be aware that they should be looking for any kind of erosion,
Okay,
okay?
yep. And address it as if we see something.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be at a minimum, to be aware, okay,
Yeah, that sounds good.
okay.
I mean, well, have you talked to the folks down the hill from?
It's their house.
Okay,
They own both of
okay.
them.
All right, that takes care of that.
Yep.
Do we need a public hearing for this?
Well, it's pretty crowded. I don't know.
I'm just asking,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
I don't think you
know.
really have to.
I know,
Is it at our discretion or is this a required for Lake Shore?
It's a discretion.
discretion, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this one, I wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
Because they're not really changing
I
this.
just had to ask the question.
Yep,
What's
good question.
happening is less than.
Yeah.
Half the size of this room, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So okay, so this was the preliminary review. I think we need a topo, so we all have a better sense, a topographic.
Okay.
Show the slopes
Okay,
a little better,
okay.
that's one thing. Anything else that you think we need in addition to this?
I have a quick question, just curiosity, the circle that's handwritten that says septic tank. It's not gonna be affected by this from what I can tell, but is it literally on the border between that two properties? Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that one day, okay, so that's not our purview, so that's fine, I was just curious whether I was reading that right, like, oh.
It's, yes, I mean, if you take that property line straight through, I think part of the tank is on the other property.
Yeah,
I don't understand how they put that in, but that's where it's at.
Is there any drainage on that property, any pipes or anything that you know of?
That's,
Besides that basement?
no, not that I can see.
Okay. If it was, we would just want it on. the
Right.
plan.
And that's, I mean, like I said, I ran the water in that drain looking for where it came out, and I assume it runs
Probably a
into
dry well somewhere.
that, it runs into a footer drain, that's my assumption, and then to a dry well, we can't find any exit of any, so.
All right. Is there anything? Think we're good?
Yep.
Think we're good.
Okay.
So,
If topographical map is
Yeah.
a little better.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And yeah, and define and maybe just draw yeah, if you can improve the drawing any for
On
the
the map.
records, yeah.
Yeah.
Zoom
That
in,
would be
The
great.
construction is.
Zoom in a bit.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because
good.
so it'll be in the record and
Right.
it'll be clear.
Understand.
Okay, this was good enough for us to figure out what's going on, but
Okay,
yeah,
sounds good.
Okay,
okay,
Thank you.
Mark, thanks. All right. Next amendment, so are you, let's see, so who's going to? Are you Michael?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're Michael, okay.
This is Bridget.
Hi, Bridget. Okay.
Yeah, hi, everyone. So I'm assuming you guys have looked through all the drawings and everything.
Right,
So basically Bridget contacted us to explore the design of a modest new building for the Montessori school
Mhm.
over on 96. And so we basically developed a site plan that looked to push this new building sort of towards 96 to kind of shelter the site from the highway and create as much sort of interior play space to the site as possible.
Mhm.
So that phase one building kind of borders 96. And then there's a future phase that's kind of up in the air right now
Mhm.
that sort of hugs the east side of the site and shelters the site from that end. So the phase one project we're currently applying for grant funding for. And so that would cover the phase one building and the expansion of the parking lot to create the drop-off circle and some additional parking spaces. Once that's constructed down the road, they'd like to explore potentially building the phase two building that goes on the side of the build or the side of the site. That initial building is going to hold 2 primary care classrooms that will allow Bridget to break up the existing building a little bit more and start offering infant care classrooms within the existing structure there on site. So yeah, the building was designed, we're trying to balance sort of simplicity
Mhm.
and modesty with still making it kind of fun and exciting. So we've taken this sort of, take on a simple pole barn structure and accentuated the south overhang that provides a covered play space for children along the south side of the classroom building, but then also shades the south summer sun. So we'll be shaded in the summer, but it'll let, that overhang is set to let light in the winter for passive solar heating in the winter. I think that kind of covers the overall. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, because I didn't have the figures yet when I filled out the EAF, but the phase one project is around 0.8 acres. But then the project inclusive of phase two is closer to 1.1 acres. So,
And it's a 3-acre plot,
yeah.
pretty
yeah.
much, so that's less than 50%, yeah. Okay,
So, yeah, should
Okay.
I talk more questions?
there will be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So-
Architectural will be, yeah.
Because that's a big, this is a, yeah, this will be a big deal, or a big development project. And what we need to do is give you things to come back with that we need to review. And also decide whether a hearing, and probably a hearing would be required for this, a public hearing. So, shall we start the questions?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So the things we focus on at this time and place is like, your setbacks and then things like the fact that you captured in the map of the site, page 17, you have what you're calling a small ditch, but we call it intermittent stream.
Mhm.
And so that requires a buffer. And so, if you want to see where that buffer width and all, there's Hopkins County has a natural resource inventory. They can see the width, but it's about 50 feet.
Yeah.
And so, unless I'm misreading this, I don't see that buffer outlined on here. So you're gonna need to show us that buffer and how it's gonna interface with
Okay.
that fenced in area. And then I don't think you have the septics on here, do you? Did I miss that?
There's a little
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
sketch that sort of shows a rough septic layout, everything kind of color coded. It's one of the second pages in there. So that existing fence, that fenced area shown adjacent to the stream
Where
is
these little
already there.
goats are? Yeah,
Yeah, that's where the goats are. So,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of doesn't change. And then the existing septic is actually over there as well. So we had hoped to just, we're hopeful that the septic field may have capacity for this initial phase one expansion. So we have, Steve maybe is on board doing septic design, so we'll have more details on septic. I'm not quite sure how that septic field was, you know, because it's, I can't tell, we don't know exactly where it is, but it's close to that stream
right,
buffer.
right. And since you are expanded, with the plan to expand, if that no longer has the capacity at that location, then you're gonna have to move it early. Like, need to know that now, before you're saying, oh, these are where these 3 buildings are gonna be.
Yep.
Oh, wait, one of them's now gonna be a part of the septic system or the field, drain field.
Yep.
So knowing where your septic tank is and the leach field currently is.
Yeah.
And then how much that'll have to be changed to, handle the, expected increases with.
Yeah,
the
because,
build out.
because they have the streams outlined on that, it's
Yep.
really close to
Yeah.
the stream, it
Yeah.
looks like, yeah.
Well, drainage says drainage ditch, but yes, the stream.
Well, so the one that runs east-west
Uh-huh.
is that's listed, that's a class C stream. That's on the DEC website, but the one that runs, the one that runs north-south
Yeah.
is
right.
listed, but the one that runs east-west wasn't listed. So I was under the assumption that we didn't need a buffer from that.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
it looks
correct.
like it was for the field behind it, it was drainage
Right.
from that and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, right, so we wouldn't have
Yeah.
the buffer from the east-west.
What, let me see what the orientation here is. I may have misread. I thought it was at the, when you're facing,
You're not able to, are you able to bring stuff up on the TV so I could point to it?
You want to join the Zoom, like I don't know, do you have a computer?
I have a computer here. Or I don't know if you guys have the presentation documents.
applications. stuff. I could probably join the Zoom.
that source inventory.
You want to join the Zoom, I can make you co-host so you can control it, otherwise I can try to follow along.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you can see,
yeah. So where is, probably, isn't that the north side?
that's the north-south one that he was talking about, so.
Oh, okay, so I have my, okay, I had probably had my orientation incorrect then. That's great. He's already taken that into account. Let me just, I'm looking at the same map too. Lumber. Looks like you have dealt with, but let me just make sure.
It's the Wi-Fi for the guest. It's on that little piece of paper under the.
I think that this is it.
And the asterisk on the end is important.
It's right next to the check.
But no,
Let's do it, this one down, yeah, that's all.
16. All right, did you invite me?
Stick and stone. Am I just reading your notes?
So it was, yeah, it should be right here somewhere.
There's a link on the homepage of the
Oh,
town
yeah.
website. It might be fastest to just do that. Trying to be listening to whatever.
So where's that? No, and where's the north side?
All right, I just joined it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get you guys oriented here.
Yeah,
Oh, this
yeah.
must be it. Next to the chunk hill.
No, that's the other side.
No, you don't have the buffer on the red, wait, on
15.
the bump. So here, this is what it looks like.
Oh,
The upper part of that property where it kind of jig jags on the right side and it's upward, that's requires a 50-foot buffer up there. That's where the the goat run is. Yeah, so actually, your map does not have a buffer showing there.
Yes.
You call it a ditch, but that's an impermanent stream.
Felt by Perry City one.
If you're on page 4 there.
I'm on page 17 at the actual map where we have the topo lines and everything, you know, that we normally work from. I mean, that's our typical site plan map with Route 96 and all the boundaries and the topography. Are you with me?
Yeah, the topo, yeah, you're on the topo map, right?
Right, but
Is the, on the sketch one, if you go up to page 4,
4,
yeah,
okay,
so that one you have listed as a class C stream. That's your topo.
oh, I see. It just calls it a class C stream, but it doesn't show the 50-foot buffer setback. Now I'm with you. Yes, that's the correct one, but that's the one that needs the buffer. Thank you.
Okay, here, yeah,
Yeah,
so
yep,
this stream has a 50-foot buffer. Basically, the existing farm fence, the farm fence is there, so that's not proposed new. Anything like it, so all of our development is on the other side of the
right,
driveway, you know, so the new development is well outside the 50-foot stream buffer here. The only thing that comes into question is where the septic,
septic,
this is
right.
kind of where the existing septic field
Right.
is. So that's the one thing that we're still sorting out with Steve Navy is sort of where exactly that is,
Yeah.
if it needs to expand. And if it can still fit there.
right,
If it needs to expand, so
right.
those are questions we're working to answer
Okay.
sort of
Yep.
in the near term, but then this, there's a little like, this was sort of the drainage ditch.
Okay,
That runs here, I'm trying to find my little,
See the drainage ditch, and there's a big pond right there.
well, those,
So this must be.
so technically, just so you're aware, when it requires a buffer, it doesn't like it, in theory, there should be natural vegetation throughout that 50 feet, okay? So
Okay.
when you're doing new work on the site, like, we'd like to see that improved instead of having goats like right by the stream, because then the manure goes in the stream. And the buffer, the purpose of the buffer is it intercepts manure runoff and actually filters it out, gets rid of the nitrate, gets rid of the sediment, pollutants.
I believe there is 50 feet of natural vegetation
Between-
between the fencing.
Okay, that's what we.
I didn't, I
Okay,
can't,
great.
there's a lot there.
That's great.
I know that. It's, but
Okay, that's.
I don't know,
yeah,
I'll make sure it's 50,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but
That's
there's
great.
trees and brush and.
That's exactly what we want, just natural stuff. You're not
Yeah.
mowing it. Yeah. you
It's
got it.
good, you don't have to mow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't have to mow,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Okay, good. And
I
then,
think when we originally renovated the property, we made sure of that.
sweet, sweet. I like it. All right, those are my concerns, guys.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, this was this was the drawing I've been trying to find. This was the one I think
Okay.
everybody was talking about, where I called, basically, this is a drainage ditch, this was the Class C stream. The septic fields in here somewhere. And so then these little blue things, we haven't started stormwater design yet. That's kind of one of my questions for you guys, but in talking with Trowbridge, Wolf Michaels, the general strategy is that they're sort of thinking these small stormwater practices. One, off the driveway, one sort of adjacent to the driveway on I-96, and then one off more toward the east. So most of the parking lot's gonna drain, to those two stormwater practices. And then stuff from the building can kind of flow off that way.
Mhm.
And then the green, up the top right, number 5, that was just a conceptual idea about septic tanks to a pump chamber. Pumped around to the existing leach field. That's number 4 is the existing tank for the existing building. And then everything else is, pretty simple, just sort of where we're taking power, we're thinking of moving the telephone pole. So that we can bury service, and those lines kind of hang pretty low right now anyway, so.
That one retention pond that you have next to the leach field is probably not a good idea. You'll flood your leach field.
Yeah, okay. And again, this is me being an architect. We have a landscape architect on part of the team that'll
Yeah.
really get that dialed in, so, but point taken.
Michael, as you do this, what? Multiplication factor, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. How much more hard surface, impervious surface are you adding when we talk about roof structures, asphalt, that type of thing?
Yeah, so each of these buildings is around 6,000 square feet. I think the roof ends up being around 7,000. And then, the additional pavement. I don't have the exact number on hand, but it's probably similar. So maybe, current phase building is 7, call the parking maybe another 7 to 10.
Okay.
And then the future phase building is probably close to another 7, so we're right around 20,000 square feet,
Okay,
and additional. We are taking the 2 small farm shed structures down. But that's not huge, basically the expansion, you can see it best in. So this is the existing parking lot here,
okay.
shaded,
What page
and
is that? I don't think we noticed that.
I think
sorry,
it's got a multi-layered.
these are newer.
Oh, okay.
But, so this is the existing parking lot,
Okay.
and this is the proposed, so we're expanding the parking this way.
Uh-huh.
But adding some plant, some tree spaces to green it up a bit.
And that's part of phase 1?
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yeah. And then we're adding the turnout, so you can sort of see the outline of the existing parking here. It's basically this chunk and the turning circle, and then the concrete walks,
Hmm.
and the building there, so. And then you can see these are the scale of the 2 farm structures that are coming down, which, they're not insignificant. Maybe there's, 3,000 square feet there, so, roof surface building is.
Mhm.
You don't have a terrible slope here, so it's pretty flat, right?
Yeah. That was part of why we sort of also picked this site location because it is kind of the flattest, one of the flatter areas on site.
So there's not too huge a concern about erosion, it's just that you're gonna have to deal with a whole lot of extra,
Yep.
Would you consider like a permeable parking lot? I mean, it's a pretty big area to do gravel or something, is that like far?
Well, I mean,
Well, they
we may actually, maybe,
Maybe, yeah, it's cost is a factor.
Yeah.
maybe a cost driven gravel
It's all
parking
good
expansion.
funding, so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh,
Well,
Yeah.
they also make asphalt.
Yep.
That you can use also.
Right.
Mhm.
that's all my comments.
Here's the, there's some of the presentation images of the actual building. So we're sort of thinking eastern white cedar siding, metal roof. You know, this is the south facing overhang, so the light will kind of shade well there.
Are you gonna put gutters on?
Yeah, so that's big gutter there. We're sort of thinking rain chains, maybe into planter boxes, would be kind of a cool feature for kids.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
this is the sort of east side, the back entrance. Sort of where, you know, sort of thinking this will be the space between the two buildings once phase 2 is done. It's kind of the view coming up 96.
Looks very nice.
Covered entry,
Yeah.
you know, covered entry space, that's so important, you know, getting
Especially in the
your kid in
winter.
out of the rain, get them under cover, and then you can set them down and put their backpack on and send them in.
Okay.
So I guess the biggest question we have is the SWIP requirement.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing I sort of wanted you guys to answer near term, because if we need that for site plan approval, we need to get that going. Or if it turns out to be necessary, you know, could that be like a conditional, could we get approval, site plan approval with this, like the SWIP conditional? You know, because it's right, it's close, like this phase 1 is under, but if you take the original development plus phase 1, then we're over, or phase 1 and 2 together are over. And obviously, the original plus 1, 2 would all be, you know, closer to 1.5 acres, 2 acres.
Well, Niels will be able to answer that.
Yeah, my question too, then. You have like phase 1, phase 2. It's great. So under secret law, if you know your phases, it should all be done. Like your environmental review should be done all at the same time. So if you know you want to do phase 2, even if you have the funding in mind, right, you should do it right now, which means we should do the SWIP at the same time. Now, as far if you want to parse it out and just do phase 1 now, just call it, you know, your project right now. They have to go back and ask the folks at the county if it's cumulative. So like if even though you're doing 0.8 right now, if we have to look at the past stuff.
Yeah.
Because if that does trigger over the threshold, that's something I have to find.
Okay, yeah, that would be huge to know, because I gotta get a proposal from Trowbridge for that.
So what are you saying, that at the stage there, if they just do 1, they might be below a requirement?
It might be, but
Yeah, okay.
if they know, so with environmental review, even though phase 2 might be 5+ years out the road, you're supposed to do it all at the same time.
Right.
So that would trigger the need for this SWIP.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
phase 1 is a long shot with our grant. It's the Child Care Capital Development Grant out of Tarrant State. They've given a $12 million, it's $50 million, only $12 million for our state, which is Plattsburgh to Buffalo. And minimum grant ask is 500,000, max is $1.5 million. So it's about 12 centers that are gonna get funded from And I know if I was interested, I have to kind of better applying for the grant.
Wow.
So it's a long shot for us, so they were going at this, and we got some grant money to do the design tonight. Phase 2 is definitely a long shot, I don't know how well that will be funded, because it would be our elementary program. So we're looking 5 to 10 years, but may not happen, because we have a wonderful location in Jacksonville. For our elementary, so that we're not under that pressure. But I always like to kind of think ahead and move things, so I don't know if that affects anything. I mean, you know, if I had unlimited funds, this is what we could do. But in reality, we're
So, you know, I think that's important because it's
Yeah.
like. I don't want Bridget to have to pay $10,000-15,000 for a SWIP. And then like, we don't find out she has grant funding until July
Yeah,
and they get denied. You know, they haven't lost our design dollars because that was
Right.
grant funded, but they'd be out of pocket on the SWIP.
Right.
So that's why, but there's also like, because of the way the grant's structured, there's a lot of pressure, like once you get the grant to start construction.
right,
So that's kind of why we're, like, otherwise we would have waited for the site plan process, right, until we got the grant. But just getting all this stuff to align, that's why I was sort of saying. You know, I think ideally we would just think about this as a phase 1 project
Yeah.
with no SWIP. And if she ever goes to develop the phase 2, then the SWIP would come into play. Or if we could get site plan approval with a SWIP conditional, if it absolutely had to happen. Then if they're awarded the grant in July, then we could follow up with a SWIP. But at least like. Under the grant's eyes, they could get started with conditional site plan approval, they could potentially get started like tree clearing. And, you know, moving a bit of like taking down the farm structures. So at least in the grant's eyes, they're starting construction in August after the grant's issued. But we're not doing anything major that would be like, you know, cause erosion or runoff. Until that SWIP was in place, so. I think ideally there'd be no SWIP, but if there had to be, it'd be great to be able to get site plan approval with the SWIP conditional, so that that could be paid out of the grant funds once. The grant was awarded, if we get it. That's our soft, right?
I mean, I like that you came and presented the whole picture.
yeah,
And especially as you have to think about the septic system and where the building's gonna be, but honestly, many people would not have come and told us that, oh, and about phase 2, so. To me, it's like, I would focus on this as phase 1, also because. When this is all grant money, man, you are definitely a visionary. So I don't know what the legality is, maybe talk to them, but this really sounds like a phase 1 project, I would not be trying to regulate this based on some. Possible thing in 10 years.
So I would suggest rewriting part of rewrite your proposal to just focus on phase 1. That'll help keep with the secret review. I'll reach out to the county, see if we do have to look at the SWIP total.
Okay.
On what's existing plus.
Yeah, that's probably the critical question. Okay, thank you.
And the only thing what we need is storm runoff, that, you know, the landscaping.
Yeah.
That's what we would be concerned with.
Yeah, okay.
all your other materials were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
it's a good,
Look at the buildings.
yeah,
Thanks.
it's nice.
Nice.
And I do have like, I have everything numbered with little legends and stuff.
I tried, you know.
Yeah, it's really
I
appreciated.
try to make it
Okay,
clear for everyone.
very cool.
And so we should do a hearing
Well,
as
he's gonna.
well after you, yeah, just a heads up.
Rewrite for just a phase 1 and then come back and then we can do the hearing, but.
yeah, I'm
You
just
can't
giving,
schedule it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave said that they'll announce grant funding sometime after July.
oh, okay,
Okay,
that makes
so you have
sense.
time.
But we were hoping to sort of have site plan approval. Around that as well, so I mean, we do have time, but
Yeah, well, you have to rewrite it to phase 1, and when you come in, then we would be able to
yeah,
consider it. We have to have, I think that we're gonna have to have a public hearing. on
Right,
this,
definitely.
Which would be 2 weeks after. So figure if you can bring the information in the next week, because we have to have a week before our next meeting, then we would schedule a site for, a public hearing, so it would be a month.
yeah, okay. So we should talk, I mean, we need to get Steve moving too, because I'd love to come back with the septic design.
Right.
as well.
Mhm.
And see what Trowbridge can sort of do for so we might be like a month out. So that would be our first
Okay.
formal site plan meeting. So this is sketch. That would be
Right.
our first formal,
Right,
then we'd have the public
And
hearing
then we know we have
and
enough.
possible
for- yeah.
approval.
right, exactly.
Or feedback, and then a third meeting that would potentially be approval.
So you figure about a month.
Okay, that works, because I think if we're like approval sort of the end of July,
That's perfect. I mean, the state said sometime after,
yeah,
this is the state we're talking about. so.
right. Okay, that all works.
So specific.
So
Thank you.
we'll do our homework and get it, so, okay, that sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Oh,
All right.
good,
thank you
good
so
luck.
much. Thanks for that.
Yeah, very excited, good luck.
Sorry. Don't break anything.
Yeah, I know, like my foot. Okay. So next topic on the agenda is training. So some of it, just for information, we already talked about it, the wetland, as part of my training, I went to the wetland delineation or the DEC wetland.
So did I.
delineation. Yeah,
So did Rebecca.
Yep.
So,
so I guess that's no news to everyone, but it's well worth it going to,
Yeah.
and there's a follow-up to
Oh, I
it.
didn't know.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she sent out a notice about it.
Okay,
But how do we get credit for it? Because there's no certificate. And the town's gonna want some sort of a certificate,
Oh,
yeah, I will.
will they?
will they?
When I did my training earlier this year, late last year, they didn't issue certificates. I just had to do it. What did I do? A screen capture of the,
Right, that's what I did,
Yeah.
screen capture that.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did?
On those,
what?
no.
No, well,
this
there's
was
that
online
one
from
still
the
on
state.
the offing too.
Yeah. But the one in Waterloo, they were supposed to give us a certificate, but they did not.
Right,
So, and that was an hour course or a 2 hour?
2 hours.
2 hours right there,
Yeah, and then this one was another hour.
right?
I took one screenshot, but it's not the cover page, so.
I didn't do a screenshot.
Yeah, neither did I. I have an email.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
helped me. So how do we go about this?
Send me or Molly or Molly, whatever you've got.
And you'll run it by bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, all I can tell you is we went to 2 meetings. I mean, one was in Waterloo.
And we can vouch for each other.
Right.
That's all, I think that's all that's critical, because I saw your name in the list. And
Yes,
saw
and I,
Rebecca's
at
name.
Waterloo, I told Rebecca, and we were at Waterloo, because we.
Yeah, we
chatted
were all
for a while.
there. We all had pizza together.
Right.
Good for you.
And for a few dollars more, I can verify it.
And then if we go to the follow-up, and then okay, so the other thing that I went to was the Crystal Bucks session on the ag
was that?
easement district. They had they were supposed to have 2 families or 2 businesses that had families that had participated, and only one of them showed up, unfortunately. But it was a large, you know where Pompeii is in New York?
What?
Pompeii? I don't know. Yeah, it's a dairy farm, a large, very large dairy farm,
Hey,
organic,
Italy.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It was a new one on me, and I've lived here most of my life. Anyway, and they explained it. In his particular situation, it was a family farm
Mm.
and his son was already in the business. So they were transferring it and they were hoping that the land would
Mhm.
forever be in it. And it made a lot of sense because then they took the profits from it, or the money that they extracted from it, and were able to use it to develop some
Buy
of the
more
part of the
machinery and
business,
whatever,
yeah, a
yeah.
barn, I think they were building or something like that. But they're a pretty prosperous business already, selling their, it was a dairy setup. So I'm just, it's hard. It's really clear that you really got to be committed to that land and have a family in the offing for it to make, from that scenario to make sense
Oh.
of it. You know, some way that you want to do it, because to me, it seems like the the way land values are going up here, it's really hard to feel like you wanna, you
Keep it
know,
in farm.
Go into.
keep it in
Right.
farm, or to tie it up that way,
Right.
you know, by selling the development rights. I mean, even they were saying that they thought the state should pay more, you know, than it
Mhm.
was based on it, and they don't, that's why I wondered where Pompey was. I meant to look it up, but I couldn't.
Mhm.
to
Southeast
see.
of Syracuse,
Where is it?
southeast of Syracuse, kind of east of Lafayette.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty.
know what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Way up
interesting. Yeah, right. In kind of the middle of nowhere. Pretty much. I mean, what else is around there besides Syracuse? Okay, so that makes a big difference. So, I mean, it's an option for people, but even, you know, like my family in farming, I don't see them ever, you know.
Yeah.
Wanting to get into it, you know, and
Yeah,
like my dad would have been hard pressed to even want, you know, never wanted anybody to
Hmm.
get in the middle of his business.
But you were in Rochester.
No, he was here.
Oh, he was,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
at that time, yeah. When fracking was going on, people were trying to buy up the
No, on that.
mineral rights. Anyway, so it was interesting to hear it, and I really wanted to know more about the, you know, the business plan that would make it
Mhm.
viable, because it would be a good option. If you really want to keep, you know, it's the challenge of how do you keep the land in
Yeah.
this area?
yeah,
In agriculture, I mean, you gotta get real folks,
yeah,
you know, how are you really gonna make it happen?
yeah, make it viable financially when there's
Right,
pressure to sell is so huge. That
yeah,
is the question for the comp plan really needs to talk about that.
they really do.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was, we, you know, we kind of, the last time when the zoning was going on, and the 20% thing, well, you're gonna leave these poor folks stuck with. You're virtually taking away development rights without, you know, get compensating them, period, so you can't do that,
Right.
so it's a challenge anyway.
The only way to do it is to give farmers breaks. Taxes and everything else.
No more than the ag.
Oh, yeah,
Tax
yeah,
break.
oh, definitely, yeah. If we lose the farms, we lose our food. Then we have to rely on
Yeah,
the large companies and they
Right.
can do whatever they want in the way of prices.
right, yeah,
Environment, it seems like.
well, and how you farm, period. How you do the farming
Right.
makes a big difference, I think. At least they're trying.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a program that makes an attempt,
Right.
and they're capturing the areas where it's feasible to do it.
Mhm.
But I don't know, I think Crystal and company might be a little overly optimistic. This area, yeah.
Well, maybe if they stop paying the politicians so much money, they can put it towards farmland.
But we digress.
That could happen. Okay, anybody else have? Yeah,
For training stuff, just another plug, if the board ever wants to have Nate or one of his people come at some point. Not during a public session, but like an OSS council training session on specific items or maybe specific case law. that's of
yeah,
interest.
right. That's nice.
Let us know to try to schedule that before September, because once, you know, you get into October and holidays, it gets a lot more complicated with
Okay.
schedules, so just keep that in
That's an
mind.
idea.
Good,
Okay,
great.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay. All right, moving on to code alignment. I guess, okay, before we get into the ag district. Just an interesting development on the Moors. The Moore property,
Yeah.
the Moore expansion, or the, not expansion, but covering the shed came up. So, as if you recall, we passed, you know,
Remember.
Right.
approved them on the condition that the town board would have a hearing on it to see if anything came out of that, knowing that they would have second consideration. The board has decided to look at an amendment to revise the law for District 8. And in that, in the changes, and I tried to print it and it didn't.
I have it
print
here
right.
in front of me. I read.
You saw it, you know,
I know
okay, so you
exactly,
know
yeah.
what we're talking about. So as a result, they passed a resolution to have a hearing next week, I think it's next week, Tuesday, yeah, to approve these amendments to the district law, which says that if improvements are being made on the property, in essence, the the Cliff Notes version is if improvements are made on the facility, they come to the planning board, and if we approve them, that's fine, and it doesn't have to go to the town board.
Right. And yeah, they did that on all
Right,
the whole schedule, right.
yeah, so it's long because there's
Right.
lots of
It makes it a lot
specifics on it,
simpler.
yeah,
Instead of
that's
going
in
back and
essence.
forth all the time.
right.
Right.
And it does make sense, so that's where it is right now.
Okay,
So what that means, though, is that the Moores may be back to us.
okay.
For a site plan. Or a hearing, we don't really know. Do you want
They-
to add anything to it?
They have
Lucas?
to come back, man.
So that's a question tonight, the way I'm. And it all boils down to how the town board resolution, that they do, but the way it's currently written. And I'll confirm with Nate, is that. What they're making resolution on is. That red line outline, which you have up on your thing, so all that does is changes the code. It doesn't grant them. Site plan approval for what they came in for their thing too. And so they would have to come back, kind of similar to the two that we just have right now, so it could be up to the discretion of the planning board, like in any other site plan. You could either schedule a public hearing or just public notification. But if the town board approves these the drafted code amendment. It sounds like they would have to come back at least once for that,
Our,
for your approval,
yeah,
for that.
which we already approved.
We approve, but we didn't do it with a hearing. So we
Right,
haven't
yeah,
had
we
the
just
hearing,
approved it because it was gonna go to the town board,
Right.
yeah.
but if it comes back to us, it means the
Then we would
town,
have to do a hearing.
The reason why we're kind of in this weird loop is because. Unfortunately, the way the code is written, any change, it has to go. And for whatever reason, it directs people to go to the rezoning section of code. It's not a rezone, right? It's a code amendment. It's its own zone, it's its own development district.
Yes.
yeah,
But the action from the town board to the planning board was just for your approval or recommendation, I should say, recommendation. On whether the
That's
town
true.
board should make a
Right.
change.
Is this on all the development districts? Is it all has to go back and forth?
Oh,
Or is it just on?
no, there are 4. I think there are 4 development districts that don't have to go to the town board,
Okay.
but there's about 6, I think there's a little of 10, so I want to say 6 have to come to the town board. Planning board back to town board, and then I want to say 3 or 4 don't have to go to the town boards.
Do they want to change all of them? So it was up, just up to the planning board, or do they want to keep control on part of it?
We're just dealing with Moores at this point,
Okay,
so.
okay. No.
to be determined.
Okay.
So just any comments, thoughts about that?
No,
That makes sense to
I mean,
everyone? Okay,
pretty easy. I mean, I read through it and it's, all
Yeah.
it's doing is taking the town board out of it. That's all.
yeah. So,
So what might be helpful for me when I'm at the hearing next week,
Yes,
I don't know if you want to do another resolution or just make a motion that you approve or recommend approval of the drafted
oh,
changes so that the planning board does site plan review and the town board.
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay,
Second,
all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay,
Good point.
Should like.
Exactly,
I
that
did
we
something
approved the modifications to the amendment as presented. By the. or we
yeah,
recommend
recommend approval
Thank
for development district number 8,
As presented by
the
the,
town board.
Planning.
By the town board.
oh,
Well, they,
Really, by staff.
by staff, yeah, it was by planning.
By staff to the town board.
okay,
Yeah, it was a staff memo that
Okay.
reflected the changes.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that good? You got it? Okay. Then, last but not least,
Well, there's a board that Michael wants to
Oh.
refer to, but do you want to do the ag district thing first or the board reports?
oh, yeah,
Michael
Michael.
has his hand up.
Oh, he does. Michael, sorry, didn't see your hand. You want to talk, speak?
So I'm very curious about the Moors. So now you just did another sleight of hand with a resolution, and that red line is not in your board packet tonight for the Moors. And I'm also curious, how did we go from a shed roof to a complete rewrite of the Moors property? And it is not taking care of giving them the shed roof they want to build. So I'm really curious how this came about. I didn't follow the process. And that's not just tonight, but Morris came to us for a re-roofing and building a shed roof. You guys asked for some drainage, and the next thing, and you didn't do a public hearing, and then we get a packet for a completely rewritten development district. It just feels very fishy to me.
Where,
How did, okay, so what you're asking for is why, how did where did the recommendation to rewrite the district come from?
Yeah,
Before,
that wasn't what you were asked to do. You were asked to review a roof, a shed roof.
right, and we haven't rewritten it. That was done by,
Yeah, you just
Who
did
did
a,
that? We didn't do that. We just looked at a
yeah,
map.
we didn't do that.
we didn't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't do that. Like, we looked at a map, a site plan and said we need drainage and they brought us another map back. We said that we like that and we will pass it to the town board and they will do the public hearing because we approved the map with the new drainage system.
right.
We didn't.
okay, well,
change text
we're not
with the
we're not
development.
getting that recommendation. We got a complete rewrite of the Development District 8. Did you guys see what we received?
No,
No,
Niels, did you do it?
Okay, well then before you do your resolution tonight that you just passed, that had a very sleight of hand about approving it, that resolution that has come to us did not come from you.
No,
We
No.
did not, as a team, as a group, review it and edit the development district text. I don't
Yeah,
know
so
where-
why did it come to us? It just came to us with very little discussion. We, like, I think Linda was there. We very quickly passed a resolution, said, we're gonna have a public hearing on this Development
Mike.
District rewrite.
who sent it to you?
That's
yeah.
where I'm asking.
No,
How
we're
did it
asking
come-
you, who sent it to you? 'Cause we didn't.
just
It,
got
it was in my board packet. I'm following you guys, and I know what you guys were charged with Development District 8. I get something completely different, and it doesn't approve the shed roof.
Okay, let me ask you this, who puts together your board packet?
Well,
Who
that's
gives
where
you the
I'm
board packet?
fishing for.
Okay,
Niels,
well,
did
we
you
don't,
change
so.
the text of
Yeah, we
development
didn't do
district?
it.
Wait, did you do it, Niels?
Okay, so I can hopefully put a timeline together. So the Moors 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, went to the town board, requested that prior to that, they submitted an application to the building zoning department to do that thing too.
All right, and can you hear this, Michael?
Yes, thank you.
We're getting an explanation going.
So they submitted for a building permit application. Upon review, said, current zoning regulations said that any new building or structure needs to go through section of code for rezones, unfortunately, that said it needs town board approval. So one of the problems with this is that section of code, let me bring it up real quick. It's chapter 212-20, it's for rezoning for development districts. So this is one of our problems in this ULSD zoning code is this section of code is germane really only towards properties that want to become a development district.
That's going to become that are not currently.
Correct. So, however, the problem for 6, maybe 7 of the development districts, is it says any changes or amendments to them have to go back through this section of code, back through the rezoning. So what that means is any code amendments, any site plan review approval for an existing development district has to go back through the process as if it's becoming a new development district. So that's one of our problems with the zoning code. So, however, that being said, they came in for a building permit, they went to the town board for consideration. That's the first step. If the town board considers a proposal merits further consideration, then it gets kicked to the planning board for review. Town board made that resolution, said we think it sounds like a good idea. It gets to the planning board for review and recommendation. So then the Moores came for 2 meetings. At that time, there was a request to change the code so that it just be a site plan review.
Wait, we didn't, did we do
No,
that?
who's the applicant,
Oh, the applicant requested it.
right? So as part of that, I drafted what you see, and Rebecca, when you said you didn't receive it, like the memo that we were just talking about, that red line, that's what the town board received.
So it kind of slid through, we didn't actually discuss the verbal, the text changes.
Correct.
And it went to the town board. So Michael, you're hearing this?
Well, if I can.
Oh, finish, I'm sorry, I'm
Yes.
sorry, my bad, okay. I thought that was, you answered the question, okay.
It's okay. So, and I'll take ownership of it. So I drew up draft changes with legal, sent it to legal. They were in review by the time we came to our second meeting. I wasn't expecting the planning board to take as quick action as you did, because I was expecting kind of like what we did with the Innitigamic and DD3 with the proposal for the piggery. I was expecting there to be more discussion in a public hearing.
Mhm.
And you guys, so that's on me. I should have like raised my hands and said, please hold off, because legal was still in review
Okay,
of those.
Oh, okay.
So planning board made their resolution. After that, after town legal made some additional changes to the resolution. Then I went to back to the town board. So the resolution that the planning board gave to the town board basically just said you reviewed it. I think the site plan looks good and you're in favor of an amendment. That's what your resolution said. It wasn't, it didn't look at the drafted
right,
resolution code. There's nothing that says you have to either. However, that's what I wanted to carry through with this meeting with resolution you just did is you looked at the proposed
Right,
code
that part.
changes.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's going back to the town board saying you approve the language, the code language as written. So now when it goes to the town board.
Right.
The planning board said we reviewed. It's good to us. Please make the changes with these code amendments, and so we should be all on an equal foot
right.
now.
That would get it up to date, but the fact that I'm hearing an awful lot of, I mean, I sat in by Zoom that meeting. And Michael's bringing up a lot, it doesn't sound like they're trivial, it's not like 2 words are changed, it sounds like a lot of changes.
Did you read, so
So-
as part of the memo?
No.
Okay, so as part of the memo, my brain is not.
All it states is that the planning board would have final review.
That's all, the only thing that
And
says.
that's
it's
all.
about-
because
in the
what was
development.
happening.
But there
is-
were a lot of
Right,
paragraphs.
because we were just recommending to the town board,
Right.
we would recommend to the town board, and then the town board would make the final decision. So what this particular one, all it does is it takes the town board out of that final decision. And just gives the planning board will give final review on it. And approval.
So I'll go over everything, just.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If it
I mean, I
helps.
wanna see it actually, so if we could pull it up, I mean, I would like to have time,
Sure,
but,
yeah.
I mean,
Well, if
Great,
you would
but-
like, I will
All right.
present my motion and we can review it.
Yeah,
have,
let's do
even,
that.
Okay,
yeah,
I
that'd be
will
great,
do that.
Let's do that.
because
Motion.
I'm detecting a lot of stress by Michael about it.
Yeah,
Which, and I detected a lot of that concern at the board meeting, right? I mean, it was like, what's
oh,
going on with this?
okay.
And so,
So I just made that motion.
okay, so what's the motion?
I'm going to remove the motion that I
Oh.
just made.
Second,
Okay, aye,
Aye, all in favor.
And I appreciate that you are on top of these things and that somehow you rush that. Because you really do take care of the details, but this one. Michael's like, what the heck happened? And I'm sitting here, I don't know what did happen. So I would actually would like to read it and be able to say, yes, I totally support this. I support you. But I'm here to push back, so I think I wanna do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And if there's any questions on the memo, let me know.
Yep.
Okay, so. We're not gonna look at it now.
Right. That's the point. We're gonna have a day or two or till the next meeting or whatever.
Okay, but the hearing
The hearing's next Tuesday.
Yeah.
next
So we kinda
Tuesday.
gotta-
Do you have it, Rebecca?
No.
Yeah,
Okay, it's an email
Yeah, it should be in the email.
and I'm sorry, this was kind of consuming me and. Can you tell me what date it was? This is the hearing for that Moore's property.
No.
No, this is the hearing for the
This is
resolution.
only for the change on the development.
If you go
district
to-
number 8.
All right.
where you can find it.
Proposed
it's-
amendment on the calendar on the website.
Yes.
If you go to the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I could abstain. How many, do we
There
have
is
enough
nothing,
votes?
the only reason.
No, Art hasn't seen it either.
It's District 8, which is Moore's, so that's why it gets
There's-
confusing.
If you go to the agenda for that last week's board meeting, yeah. Then there's a staff memo, right? For Moore's?
I am looking at the June 25th calendar event. It just has.
June 25th,
June 25th?
more information, okay? Meeting
Okay.
materials, is that where, nope, not there.
Sorry,
So how-
I'll keep my mouth shut.
I'm still concerned that we find out about this, pardon my language, put it in the records if you want to, this shit. After the fact. And. Words like fishy and sliding through are used. When not 2 weeks ago, we were all about not doing that kind of crap. So how is it that we have to go hunt it down on the website, and the only reason we know about it is because somebody said something in a meeting like this instead of,
You didn't get it?
no,
How come I got it then?
All right, what is,
I
what's
don't
the
know.
date? What's the date on it? I'll look through my. Find the email, tell me when it
I'll
was.
look it up,
but this is,
because that's what I thought everybody read through this, otherwise I wouldn't have said a word.
this is the Keystone Cops all over again. It's just,
Let's see. Where is it? What is-
So that's exactly what's bothering me about this.
So Neil was taking responsibility for it. He made the
No.
text changes.
Okay, it
But-
was 6/14,
Mhm.
No,
That was
this,
the date,
this to me is
and
not a
it
planning
said-
board.
it was a
Like,
PDF,
it-
and it said DD 8 proposed
And who was it from on 6/14?
from Niels.
Okay, okay.
Want a hard copy? Do
No, I'm good.
you want a hard copy?
No.
Pass the resolution. So, I mean,
thank
Look
you,
at the
Neil.
red lines.
So I'll wait until Mo's back, just so I can go through. and
Yeah, good idea.
holy crap.
It looks worse than it.
Oh,
So 6/14.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think, I can see why you're concerned, Michael, because you look at it, and you go, holy cow, the whole development district's been changed, but you're saying that it's really subtle nuances.
No, it's,
I,
yeah, it's crossing out and the words are pretty much the same for each one. But it's different paragraphs of different, addressing different issues that could be, that will be in our purview.
So the email, Rebecca, if you're looking at the 14th. That also has the memo in it.
Carl's 6/14. You know, I have like 200 minutes, I just let you
okay,
know.
I found so my apologies to Niels, but
I just found the responses.
maybe next time in the subject line, put 911 and then subject or
911.
Make sure you read this
get
one.
on it, please. Yeah, I don't know. But
I'm still working through those 614. At Carissa's. Okay, it's that time again. That's for the comp plan.
yeah, I can see where.
Okay,
where the
you're right,
changes
there it
are
is.
Minor,
Okay,
it's just the way word processes change.
doing that now, that's not it. Wait a minute, this is. This is not the FF thing, this is allowed uses and boundaries respectively. Data issue. So this is describing what's gonna be in it, not it, this is not actually the. So what was said is, 3 amendments are proposed for subsection D, update the language, grant authority, but. This is not the actual proposed text, this is a summary of what,
Right, so I'll read that if you follow along with the red lines.
Okay,
Oh, I don't have this red line, but I have.
yes,
okay, and then you click on it and it goes to the original.
So that's.
Work.
You want the red
Okay,
line.
there's the red text, all right, I got it, all right. So. So let me ask you something before you start reading it. I can read fast. I'll get that. So So Michael, you're obviously showing your experience about how this happened. Did the board read all this and sees that they aren't very substantial changes, or does the board feel like this is a major change to a development district?
It showed up in our board packet. The Moores did not come to the board to request any changes. They came to the board to request a shed roof. And then we came to the meeting, and that's a lot of red line there, and it is not the same text. And it was downplayed at the town board meeting. It says, oh, this is minor stuff. Well, 2.5 pages of red text is not minor.
Yeah,
And
that's
as you guys know, in reading legal documents, if you use or, if you use and, it matters where you put commas, matters where you put periods. The sentence structure is vitally important. And after me and you guys had said, okay, we're gonna tighten up our communications here. So, I'm not the voting counter to what you guys have sent to me. And then the very next thing I get this, and I'm thinking, wow, when did the planning board do this? Well, I find out the planning board did not do this, and the planning board didn't know about it. And so when you're redoing, and I've been a proponent of looking at these development districts, but we need to have more dialogue over them, not just like slide it through.
Yeah,
Okay, so if I can address 2 things that I heard.
okay,
So I have my master's degree in this, and I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I have worked on hundreds of code amendments drafted. I've reviewed literally thousands of zoning codes across the country. So this is my bread and butter. These draft regulations is what I was hoping the planning board would review prior to your recommendation or the resolution that you did for the Morrison.
and we didn't know about it, we didn't realize this was
Right,
going.
and I should have raised my hand and made
Right.
take ownership of that.
Right,
but
okay.
It was still in review by legal. However, I'm pretty confident in this red line, which was reviewed by legal.
So Nate's looked at this and approved the change in wording, there's nothing substantial,
Correct,
you haven't changed where they can park or anything like that, it's just reworded.
correct. And the town board has all reviewed it as well. Well, should have reviewed it at the last meeting. 4 of the 5 members were okay with it. Michael was not.
Mhm.
But so I'll go through the itemization. So it starts on page 13 with red lines. The header. There are 2 proposed amendments. One is to include the date of the code amendment. So currently there isn't anything, so that would change it to whatever the town board makes an amendment. And the other one is for future clarification on amendments to code, which is kind of one of my biggest issues with this is, even though it's under a rezone action, we're saying that any code amendments will follow the same process. It's a Band-Aid, I'm not happy with it. But until we go through, let me take a look. Zoning code should have a section or a chapter on how to amend the zoning code.
Yeah.
Ours says nothing on this whatsoever, so by default, we have to go with just state law on what it says for local laws. So this is just a Band-Aid temporarily saying any code amendment to this section is going to follow this process. So that's what that second line is. Any amendments to the subsection shall be processed as a zoning code amendment following the process listed under Article 212-1. There are no proposed changes to the allowed uses or the district borders. So what that essentially means is like any subdivisions they might want to do, any changes beyond boat sales, repairs would all have to go back to the town board. So no changes there.
Mhm.
Subsection 3 is the last subsection, and there are, well, it goes from A to O, and there are, let's see, 5 sections proposed to have amendments. Most of them are basic updating of language of code. So for example, it's not great practice to say, for example, in subsection C, when it says maintain parking between the front of the building and highway. It's better to say off-street parking. That's sort of a standard terminology nowadays. But if you read through that, the substance of that isn't changing.
Okay,
Just the wording.
It's just
okay,
the
I'm
wording.
cool with that,
That
okay,
For subsection, so it's maintaining parking in subsection C. Subsection D is where boats can be temporarily parked for servicing. The substance of that isn't changing.
Mhm.
Subsection E deals with outside, the long time outdoor storage of boating,
Mhm.
boats. That section substantively isn't changing.
Mhm.
Subsection F is for where used boat sales can occur.
Mhm.
That's not changing as far as location.
Mhm.
No proposed changes for vegetative buffer,
Mhm.
cleaning of outside areas, signage, building lighting, gear, lubricant, motor oils, all that sort of stuff. Nothing there is being proposed to change. If they want to ever change anything, that has to go back to the town board.
Mhm.
The only other section that's being proposed is subsection L, which basically, this is the main thing why we're in this right now, is that any new building
Yep.
has to go to the town board. What we're now, what I'm proposing with this is that any new fundamentally site plan process come to the planning board for site plan review. So the basis of that is under state law and local law, which grants the planning board the authority to do site plan reviews and site plan amendments.
Right,
It's not really appropriate for a town board to grant site plan approvals. They can rezone and they can do code amendments, but they really should not be doing site plan approvals, which is essentially
okay,
what this thing to
I get
is.
it.
So
okay,
that's what this is about.
okay, understand the situation now. And Michael, I hope you heard all that clearly, all right? I respect actually that you're doing your job and actually good at it. I really appreciate that Nate's also looked at it. So basically between your expertise and our legal support of this, that means this is a legitimate. And I'm willing to support it in its current form. And again, I appreciate that you work so hard and put the time to do things. So it's only, is the board comfortable with that key one sentence is that they don't get to see it for this one development district if we get to make the decisions? Okay, I'm game.
Yeah.
I'll support it.
Any comments, Michael?
Michael, you're
So-
muted. Yep,
Yeah. My issue is with the process,
yep,
Right,
right? And so I can pretty much tell you that probably at least 3 of the town board members would not have read this.
Yeah.
That the board packets get pretty thick, and we rely on the recommendations of the SMEs, right? And so this, again, to me was a surprise. And so I think we need to, and I'm going to vote against it because of the process. It should have come to you guys. It should have been reviewed. The more should have come to the town board for the request. And it should not be done, in the back room. And I'm not doubting Neil's abilities, but it's the process. This thing was written, and it wasn't written haphazardly when we reviewed it. We spent meeting after meeting after meeting updating the Moores Development District. And Mrs. Moore, she spent hours working with us on this. So this was not this is probably the most reviewed development district that we have. And so
You mean in the original development, Michael?
of the one that we have now,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the, not,
not the current modification.
Not the red line one.
not the red line one. No,
Okay.
I'm telling you, hours were spent on that.
All
Yeah.
right, so you're gonna vote against this because.
Yeah,
of the
out of
process.
principle, yes.
Okay. I understand and don't understand that. But let's set that aside for the moment and say, what do we need to do to take care of the moors?
You need to approve their shed roof. And that was
We
my
did.
point
We
in the
did.
town board.
No,
You-
we told. the
Yes,
town
you,
board to.
yes, you did. That is not what came to us at the town board. A complete rewrite came to us. And and that's my point in the town board meeting. The Moores want to build their shed roof during the building season. And that's not what we've done. This is a delay. I'm not opposed to rewriting development districts. I've been a proponent of it a long time. But now this thing comes through, I'm thinking, why are we rewriting the development district? Let's get their shed roof approved and then we can rewrite it.
Which is fair. I know, again, Niels has been trying to clean up these things that we have problems with.
But we didn't ask him to clean this up. It was not on anybody's agenda.
Well, that may be true, Michael, but I think from his heart, he's like, this is what we should do.
Sure.
Most of us just didn't recognize the importance of it and opened the email or, whatever that might have been. And as he's already said, he could have raised his hand at some point and said, look, we really, I want to rewrite certain parts of this before.
But
we
it
send
should have
forward.
it should have been on your agenda.
Okay,
So, all
so
right,
what do you want us to do?
what would you be, let me hear what
Well-
you would be, I'll hear what you would be
You-
comfortable.
Well, you guys have already heard me out. So, and I thank you for that. But it's my promise to you to keep the lines of communication open.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And it was a huge red flag for me. I'm thinking, when did the planning board do this? Well, it turns
all right.
out
So,
you didn't do
so
it.
let me ask you this. Have you read all of the red line or the,
Absolutely, I did.
okay,
Yes.
do you agree with them?
I don't think it needs to be rewritten. There's no substantial changes in there. I mean, what's the point of rewriting this thing? And what was the problem with the original one?
So there are two, if I understand correctly what Niels just went through with us, there's two types of changes. For most of it, the first three big red blocks, there are changes in the way the wording from 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
No, it
whatever.
wasn't 20 years ago.
Okay,
It was a huge update that the Moores did. We found out their development district was out of date.
right. So
I think
he was
the
trying to make
date
it
is in their
perform
district.
better.
It might have been like
what?
2018 or something.
Okay. The substantive one is the one where we take back control over the planning board makes the final decision, so it doesn't go to the town board.
So
And that's,
Well, yeah,
It-
yeah. What we
Simplify
did,
it in the long run. Yeah,
yeah, but for the shed roof, we sent it back to you anyway.
this
We're-
time.
we're-
Right,
Well, we've done it every
Yeah.
time.
right, but from going forward, we won't have to do that anymore. They can come to the planning board. Sure.
for this one.
What are we
development.
gonna do about moors?
Right.
Forget about what we're talking here. What about moors? We can
Right.
keep them in suspense
No,
for the
I
next
think we have
month.
to put their drainage in, man, but
They.
Well,
we approved all of that.
we gotta have a hearing.
Yeah, here. What do we do about the Moors?
so I thought the whole reason we said send it to, and we voted was the board, the town board would have the hearing, so there wouldn't be two of them. Right? What's that? We said, oh, if we have a public hearing, then the board has to have a public hearing. If we approve it, then the board has one, and there's only one public hearing, which makes it all more efficient. That was the whole point, to try and make this happen. I mean, that whole point was, oh my God, we put them through so much pain. And we're all happy with what they came up with as a solution. We approved the site maps, give it to the town board, tell them we're done with this. So to me, we're done, except now we have this resolution about changing the zoning. So can that resolution be postponed? In other words, take it off to say we're telling the town board
Yeah.
not to have the resolution next week.
And and instead
Have
do a hearing for the Moors.
Yeah, and just get that part done.
And get
the
that
drainage.
part done.
So that depends on, have they enacted the thing that allows us to just approve? Are we there yet or
No,
not?
no, they're gonna
No.
vote on that next
Okay,
week. That's what
so
this resolution
if they-
is about.
If they pass that resolution next week,
Then
then
we can have the caveat, we can say, assuming the approval of that resolution, then automatically it won't be automatic.
Yeah, it would
Okay.
be, it would
We
be
got-
automatic, it
where's the
comes to
public hearing?
us, we would have a hearing.
Do we have to have a hearing then?
Oh, we
Yeah,
have
that-
that.
I
yeah,
respect-
Has to be a hearing, and then at that hearing, if no one says anything, we would approve it, it would be.
We
done.
would approve it out of it. Right. So we could get in touch, well, we need 2 weeks. to-
so
Schedule
what's,
the hearing.
what's the resolution tonight? What?
Yeah,
Okay,
what
so-
is-
I mean, if you want to make it a resolution, we can make it a resolution to think how it stands and how it's just as a motion. So that, I guess that's one question for you all.
the-
Or is it, did you make it a resolution?
Oh.
Well, how do we convey to the town board?
Just to approve this board, so that they can look at it and vote on it, but.
But
Now
we
it
can-
seems like if we do that, then the Moors is still gonna be hanging out there for a long time.
Right, 'cause
Unless we just let that happen on its own and then we continue to operate, get a hold of Moores, say. We're gonna schedule.
Well,
those
we know,
hearings.
we can't schedule anything.
we
It's up
turned
to
it
the
over.
town board.
Well, that's right.
we did, it is back to the board, they have to schedule.
Well,
They
we
have to
asked-
schedule.
Okay, so.
Neil,
after
I'm
town
sorry,
board-
but it's definitely throwing a wrench in this thing, so how do we get out of it? Go ahead.
A few things, and unfortunately, the way. It seems like with law and scheduling for the town board to make a resolution, they have, so in their meeting last week. They had to approve a resolution in order to have a hearing next week.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you wanna say, please hold off on that. They're gonna have to craft another resolution on the spot next week in order to have a meeting, the hearing 2 weeks after,
Wait,
which
so
is.
the hearing is now scheduled for next Tuesday, is that what you're saying?
yeah,
For the
for-
board? Oh,
for
only
the
for the
amendment.
code amendment.
Yeah.
So problem with this again is with the town board's hearing, like there's a public notification issue, right? When the planning board or the BZA
Yeah.
does their public hearings, we give 500-foot notice
Right,
notifications, they put postings on their frontage, so the neighborhood knows what's going on. With my understanding with the town board, when they do a public hearing, it just gets posted. It goes into the notice mail, but there's no notification of property owners, so the only way. And there's one property owner who keeps track of what's going on in the town board and she showed up. But I think the only reason why that property owner knew what was going on is because she keeps track of the town board. None of the other property owners are getting notifications, so that's
Right.
another reason why
It is.
it comes back to the planning board. We do notification, those property owners are then gonna get notified of what happens. It's a headache. I
It seems
appreciate
like
it.
a yo-yo.
Okay, so I was just having a conversation with a client this morning about this very thing. It seems like often when we're trying to solve a problem, we just add more complexity to it.
Right,
So how do we simplify this? Let me just posit this. If we remove all of your changes, no reflection on you. Does that,
For the time being.
for the time being anyway, does that satisfy? I mean, does that bring it back to the original resolution or do we?
It would take it to the original, it would have to go to the planning board, I mean, the town board, they'd have to schedule a hearing
for the Moors.
for the
the
movers. So they have to make a resolution again to have a hold of
They'd have
hearing.
to, they'd have to craft a resolution for 2 weeks. Or so the best process forward,
Fast forward.
if they adopt this, it becomes effective immediately. Then we can schedule a meeting the following week, which is actually faster.
but we can't.
Is it
Until
faster?
we meet,
Well, second
which is not for 2 more weeks, that would be when we would say, all right, now we schedule it, right? I mean,
You can make a motion saying pending
Yeah.
resolution of the town board, we schedule a public hearing.
Yeah, that sounds like an option. Yeah,
so pending the resolution approval by the town board, the planning board,
The scheduling a hearing for 2 weeks or the
now,
first,
the next,
first Tuesday of next month.
And so then,
Yeah, it would-
then
it
the
would be
2 week
2 weeks.
period would start after the town board does its resolution.
But now, wait a minute, hold on. If
they
Michael
don't.
votes against it and there's another board member that votes against it, now nothing happens.
Then,
Now it's
nothing.
has to start all over again. So what are we gonna do to get this straightened out?
What do we have to do to get your yes vote, Michael? Just ask you
It's
that,
5-4.
Yeah, but
so that we can get
Against it.
the more is there.
But still. I'm
Shed root.
betting- I'm
Yeah, right.
betting 3 days too on anything,
At this point, it sounds like 4 years.
is it?
So if it, but if if it didn't get approved, it'd be the same one, they'd have to schedule the hearing.
They
The
would have-
town board. would-
right,
Right.
So
and
we
that
asked the
took
town
about a
board-
month or maybe even more.
Okay,
No, 2 weeks, 2 weeks from there. Right?
Theirs is the 25th next week.
Yeah, if it got,
Planning board would be the second, which is 2 weeks from now.
so if it got not passed,
If it
And
didn't
they-
pass.
beg your pardon?
If it didn't pass,
If it didn't pass,
then ours work.
they could then schedule a hearing for the Moors.
On the second.
of
I mean,
July.
or sorry, not the second,
Yeah, the
the
second,
9th.
the
the ninth,
so the soonest we can get a public hearing is us on the second, and
yeah.
the latest is 1 week later.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'd like to get it sooner because we really feel bad about what we're doing to them. So that would require us to say some kind of resolution or motion, you tell me how we do it. To the
Just a
board,
motion.
so they're aware that. We, depending on the outcome of this, if it comes back to the planning board, we will be scheduling a public hearing for the 2nd of July.
Yeah.
All right,
So let's,
Michael, thoughts?
I thank you guys for talking it out.
Okay,
we're trying.
Yes,
We definitely care deeply about how painful this is for the couple.
oh,
the Moores,
yeah, as do I.
you know, and-
I feel,
and given
I feel bad for the Moors.
a lot of bureaucracy, and so what, with the best we can do is say, if it's approved and we support it, all right, we'll support the document. If it is approved by the town board, then we will, because we get all responsibility thereafter, we will already be planning for a board. Now, wait a minute, when do you have to put out the signage? Or when do you have to put out the announcement? Because we won't know till Tuesday, which is 1
Yeah.
week before we meet.
Do we
Right.
have enough time
Yeah,
for
there's,
that?
there's enough time. We'll have that all, we'll have that squared away this week and all we have to do.
But we don't
is-
want to put it out until we know the answer. though.
Right.
'Cause
No,
then
Right,
it-
we would know that.
but he's saying we have enough time. All
Right,
right.
okay, so
So
when
we
we have
can-
enough time,
Yeah.
So repeat that so Molly can type it down.
okay, so if I understand it correctly, so correct me. Our planning board has reviewed the proposed resolution to the amendments to the Development District 8
This one with the red lines?
with
in
the
it?
red lines.
Okay,
If the town board approves this revised revisions to the Development District 8, responsibility then for this decision about Moores comes back to the planning board, and we immediately approve for a public hearing to be scheduled on July 2nd.
I second that.
aye.
All right, okay.
And
Then that's-
Sleep at the switch here.
Still have Mo's initial motion.
So no, I resent those.
Oh, yeah, we've gotta
Excuse me.
approve it.
If you rescinded it, then
We
Yeah,
have
we've
to
gotta,
approve the the
we've gotta
resolution.
approve, that we recommend the board approve.
Right.
Oh, I
yes,
do.
We have done that.
I do, yes.
Okay,
right.
second,
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Okay. Did that take care of that situation? Okay.
Michael, what do you think?
Molly, you got
Thank you for talking it out again. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay,
Right, I'll put that.
so in the same vein,
they,
Yeah.
um,
this is warm up.
yeah, it was warm up, unfortunately for me it is, what happened, so last Tuesday, I'm bringing back up the issue of the fact that a decision made by the planning board after extensive conversations, meetings, conversations with the agricultural specialist, two separate meeting, reports to the Tompkins County Legislature, where we all said, this does not make sense to have our conservation zone have this piece, this parcel be added to the ag district.
Hmm.
And then what happened, it went to the town board, remind you of the process.
Mhm.
And they had a hurried and confused discussion, and the little was present. And they had new information that said, oh, if it does go into the ag district, anybody who wants to make a change has to appeal to the ag and markets to say the zoning is restrictive and we want to do something, but it took it out of our, right. The board at the time, confused and rushed, were the words I heard, said, okay, well, I guess that'll be all right then, but we need Nate to give us some legal guidance on this, and that's where it ended. Now, and so the supervisor, Caitlin, sent a message to, and I don't know how it was written explicitly, but to the Tompkins County Legislature that we're not going to write, the board is not writing a letter to stop this from happening. Kind of weird way to put it. So then it comes out, we hear about that from actually the Tompkins County Legislature 3 days before they vote by one of their members to say, guys, are you aware of this? You know, it's not what you've been telling us. And for me and Pete Angie, it was kind of like a new thing, and Pete went and presented again. Now, then we find out that actually a vote was not taken. And so there was some confusion. Wait, did we take a vote? But it's not in the records. It's
By the
not
town board.
by the
Town
town board. It had not taken a vote that evening.
Right.
So technically, they had not approved that decision, which went and influenced the Tompkins County Legislature. So that was brought to their attention. And so last Tuesday, they had to and Nate said, it sent out an email on the 3rd. The town board can only take action by a formal vote. The town supervisor only has that authority by statute or the town board action. The town board discussed it, but there was not a vote. They did not actually take a vote at the meeting. I'm reading Nate's email. Legal confirmed the zoning was not overridden. And the town supervisor in an email stated that the town board, quote, is okay with the parcel entering the updated ag list. But given these facts, because there was a vote was taken, she didn't have quite the authority, and so there was a breakdown or oversight in the process. The town board should have voted to authorize that change, and therefore it would be appropriate for the town board to discuss ratifying the supervisor's communication, approve it retroactively. So last Tuesday, from 7 o'clock, I made my statement in my 3 minutes about I was uncomfortable with this. Then the 2 hours go by, and about 9:05, they reach this topic. Liz Weatherby brings it up and says, okay, we have to deal with this thing where we have, you know, overlook this. And Caitlin says, all right, we have a resolution and it's already drafted and you all have to, she reads parts of it. And the resolution says, we agree that she represented us in the conversation on, I believe it was April 23rd. That is the resolution. That we agree that she represented us correctly.
Planning board? you
Now,
said?
no, that the board,
Town
Oh,
board.
town board,
Town
town
board.
board,
so when
okay.
she said, we're okay with the parcel entering it.
Mhm.
She said, I want this resolution that you agree with, that I represented you properly, the board. Rich says, well, wait a minute, we didn't take a vote. If I were voting on it tonight, I would say no. And she says, we're not voting on this. We're voting on, I want to hear the vote on the resolution, which means, did I represent you properly? Now, they never had a vote on whether to do it or not. They had a conversation that was, and so it was 4-1. Michael, you either abstained or said no. And everybody else said, well, yes, she represented us correctly, done. No other vote was taken.
Michael said no, I think.
Yeah, but Michael, you said no. Okay, so, now, so according to Nate, I thought they still needed a vote, but he said it would be appropriate for the town board to discuss ratifying the supervisor's communication, not have another vote on
Right.
it. Just ratify that she represented them correctly. It was 4-1. And so it's done. But Linda speaks up because they raised some questions. And one of those statements was, well, they probably would have voted this way anyway, the Tompkins County Legislature. And Linda nicely gets up and says, well, actually, I was there at the Tompkins County Legislature. It was a 7-5 vote. And what they said is, well, we actually only because the planning board's not elected, we had to go with what the town board said. So actually, you know, they might not have gone that way. And then the second statement that you nicely made was, well, Crystal said, because they raised the question, well, remember, you get a chance. So if the farm says we want to make a change in the zoning and put a building in or something, they may not approve it, right? The ag markets may say, oh, no, and Crystal Buck reported, well, I've never heard of that. Basically, ag markets will always support the farm, which basically then sets our zoning aside. So I was hoping that it wasn't legal because I felt like if they had a revote against it, that would mean we could ask the Tompkins County Legislature to take it out, change it back, because that wasn't a legal vote. But the way the wording for Nate is that if they voted to ratify the supervisor's communication, then yes, they did. I feel like a number of things, as you say, communications, but worse than that, our town board ignored all the efforts that we put into this, all right? So totally ignored it. Disregarded the comprehensive plan, which is like our Bible. I mean, it's the thing I stand by.
Right.
And disregarded zoning in this one key district. I've been trying to come up with ways and my trust. And so I felt like there was a little bit of pressure from the supervisor, but my trust in the supervisor, but as the board functions, has been severely impacted. I've been working here for 20 years. And for the first time, I think, why am I doing this? All the effort we put into this planning board, and they don't, it's disregarded. I thought about, we have the right to go to the zoning board of appeals. This was a zoning change that was done. I mean, we're worried about development district wording changes, and this is an entire change in our conservation zones. I mean, this is huge to me. This is like one of the things we're most proud of. We can go to the zoning board of appeals and make an appeal. It'll be complex, you know, we'll have to figure out what's the legitimate way to do that. I can go as an individual. I might do that if I resign. We can go to the newspapers and bring this to their attention that something serious has happened in the town and they should be aware of it. I talked to Carl about it, and I talked to Linda about it after that Tuesday night. Carl had a really nice, thoughtful response, which I really, and so did you. You both did. And you guys are very, and I'm more emotional, you know, I mean, I've been doing it longer and I care deeply about this comprehensive plan and the zoning, in the conservation zone. And Carl said, yes, but it's happened and we need to be able to work with the town board moving forward. And setting up this kind of contentious relationship is not a good way to proceed. And he's about to take one being our chair, and I respect that. But I actually feel like our functioning has been seriously impacted. And I just wanted to hear what you all felt about this as I make my own decisions about how to proceed. Because again, 20 years, and this is the first time I've said, I don't get it. I don't see why I'm even here. So this was, you know, and it's been swept under the rug. It was a quick vote, man. It was fast, and it was, no, we're not revoting. It was a kind of negative interaction in my mind. Of course, it was the end of the day and I was tired, but I felt uncomfortable with how they proceeded. So,
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys, you know, sometimes you just got to take the hits and keep moving, and that might be the right way to do this.
Yeah, I just as to confirm what Rebecca was saying, I came in late because of, you know, my training. And but I came in just as this conversation began, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. But I was really startled with how it was so abruptly handled. The control turned over to not the supervisor, but somebody else. And then the resolution was read and it was a slam bang, and there seemed to be an effort to have conversation, but it didn't materialize at all.
Nope.
You know, there wasn't any tolerance for that.
Yeah, that
So,
was how I.
Yeah, and that was
No tolerance for a vote or thinking about a vote, nothing.
right. And we haven't heard anything back, like why this was done or any, and I mean,
Apology.
yeah, right. You know, because, and
And
you know, go
I
ahead.
had talked about it with some other people, and I was close. but I decided I'm going to stay.
Good.
Because the town needs it,
I know,
but it was close, it was very close. Because of that decision, and I've been in a planning board for well over 20 years also, but not here. In other
Mhm.
places. And that has never occurred before, even in, and I was elected, in my
Mhm.
town, we have to be elected. They would never do that to us,
Mhm.
and if they did, it would be pretty bad.
We put a ton of time to that decision.
Oh, yeah, I know,
It's like-
if we're gonna sit here for 2 hours
Yeah.
and discuss stuff, and then it's not listened to, then why are we here? Might as well just go home and.
Art, do you have thoughts? I'm really I love working with you all, okay? I really do, and I respect you all immensely. And I enjoy it, but this has been worrisome to me.
From the moment I read her email giving approval to put that parcel into the ag zone, I felt betrayed. Nothing that's happened since then has made that feeling any better. In fact, this whole story about, you guys just support me. Here's a resolution that you agree that I represented you after the fact doesn't sit well with me at all.
No, that's just correcting a
It's,
mistake.
it's not correcting a mistake.
Well, I mean, their mistake, not our mistake.
It's not correcting the
Oh, it's
mistake.
not correcting, no.
Right.
It was
No.
trying to correct.
It's covering it up.
It covered it covered a legal issue.
Right,
It covered a legal issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the issue is, do we trust them?
Right.
Can we trust them? Do they get away with it next week?
and Michael, I appreciate that you voted against it, so you stood up and voted against it. This is the second thing that's happened in less than a year, where, the recreational field
yeah.
situation occurred that wasn't transparent. There were some ethical issues because it was involved, I mean, we're taking the trainings on ethics and, our own code enforcement officer owns a property and we didn't even know it when it came to us.
I know.
Yeah.
And we all sat there, wait, what rec field? We didn't even know.
I
So
was sitting
we were
here
all-
when they were discussing that, and I'm thinking to myself,
What are we missing?
oh, wait a minute here, that was a violation, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything.
Right.
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 What the lawyer was speaking about.
Yes,
you
me
know,
too, right? Like, oh,
Disclosure,
right,
disclosure.
and transparency and,
Yeah.
yes, so I am uncomfortable with where we are right now and I don't know how to proceed. But it does make me, I am super busy. I'm really busy. And I have other responsibilities and I value my time and how it's allocated. So I'm thinking about this. And again, I love working with you all. But I'm not sure right now that what the energy we put in it is, making a difference. So I don't know, what to do about
Wait,
this.
before you say anything else, Rebecca, go home and think about it, please.
Yep.
I would
Okay.
hate to lose you.
I appreciate that, but you know what? I actually am more confident than I've ever been about, I always represented a certain area that, stormwater and the
Right,
environment.
exactly.
But I'm watching all of you, and you've always had stormwater nailed, I didn't really. And you're each of you now covers it, it's like, oh, you talk about the septics, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm not, I haven't left before, because it's like, I'm not legal, and nobody cares about environment or knows about environment on this planning board, I can't. It's just gonna go down the tubes, but now I actually, and Carl's very thoughtful and, sometimes, so I don't feel as much like, oh, I gotta be here. I know, but I'm just saying, it's not.
Go
what we
home
were.
and think about
I
it.
will.
Okay.
I will. Anyway, I'm really.
We
appreciate-
speak with authority because we'll know we'll be backed up by you.
That's right.
It's all right. No, anyway, I appreciate hearing what you're all saying. You have the same gut feeling to this that I do. I don't know what the solution is, because this is worrisome to me that this is twice in a short amount of time where somebody they're behaving rushed. And don't say it's malicious, but it's rushed. It's poor thinking. It's going against what we say is the Bible, the comprehensive plan,
Mhm.
the zoning, which is the only way we have to do things, and just toss it. So, that is what the conversation I wanted to have, and also to let you hear. So it's minutes 9:05. I tried to see if I could get the Zoom recording to show you that little segment, not like from 9 to 9:15. I would watch it and just see what you think about how that was handled.
Yeah. And the resolution too, I couldn't find it. So
Yeah, I mean, they made it, I've gotten anything on the line, yeah, it'll happen, but
Yeah,
right now. it's not.
right.
Well, thank you guys, I
To-
appreciate it.
Sure.
I'll
To,
definitely think about it.
Carl,
yes.
if I may, Carl.
Oh,
Yeah,
So-
can you hear me
so-
now?
Yeah, we
oh,
can.
yeah.
So
Okay.
Rebecca
in it-
told us, your thoughts about being contentious and what have you, and I understand and agree. But I also understand that if we don't take a stand, it's gonna happen again. There's no question, that's why we record history.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that. The one thing that came up in that town board meeting, though, that I think is worth us knowing about. Ms. Weatherby pointed out that until it showed up in their packet on the 23rd of April, most of the town board members, other than Mr. Boggs, who is with us all the time, and apparently Caitlin Olson, none of the other three knew anything about this issue. And we had been dealing with this from January and February on. I think we gotta, on items like this, I think we gotta get more aggressive and get it on the town board agenda and actually make our presentation to them so that they got time to think about it. Because the problem that came into this was the county legislature made their final decision and approved it on the 7th of May. Well, the town board was dealing with this on the 23rd of April, and if 3 out of 5 town board members, that's the first time they hear about this thing, we're too late. We're 2 months or 3 months already that we lost that we can't get back. And so when we were talking about it in January and February, I think it was February when we made our recommendation and presented it to the county, we should have also been asking for a spot on the town board legislature on their agenda to actually make the presentation to them to tell them this is what we're doing and this is why we want to do that. And that's part of, I think, Michael's feeling that we need to work a lot closer on this and tie, for me, it's a learning experience to figure out how we're going to deal with this.
The way I recollect it was when it was given to us, my understanding was it was our decision to make. And
Yes, it
that the town board would not do
Be
anything to
involved.
support it.
Right,
Yeah, be
But
involved.
the
with that.
feedback from the county legislature about, well, we'll take the elected response versus an appointed board's response, that's kind of telling to say that that's the way the county deals. And so for a learning curve for us, we have to understand that that's what we're dealing with. And we're going to have the town board support when it gets outside of the town of Ulysses to make sure we both speak the same thing.
That's true, but we are appointed by elected officials.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
and after this discussion, who knows?
Yeah, right. But good point, Carl, thanks.
I
Yeah.
would like to make one recommendation on the resolution that Rebecca and the motion that I made to be drafted into a letter and given to the town board, and I want an answer back. A letter back from the town board.
Right.
About why they did that?
No,
What was
that's
the
no,
resolution?
about the Moors.
Oh,
I want a letter back stating what the vote was, who voted, and if they approved it or not. And I want it written, I don't want it a verbal. I don't want them to say, oh, yeah, it's okay. No, I want it written down.
Right.
So we have a record of it.
No, you want their response written down.
Yes, oh,
Yeah.
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 So
that's
we're
what you're
gonna
saying.
send
In
them
addition
the
to ours,
resolution.
yeah.
And I want it to be answered and I want it back here so we can look at it.
I second that.
Sure, all in favor, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the only way we're gonna get answers from them is if we get in writing. That way, when they say, oh, I didn't know anything about it, well. Here you go, you signed it or you voted on it and it's written there.
Well, another perspective that actually Niels, when we were talking a little earlier, suggested too, was that we make sure that we have a representative, a speaking official from the planning board at the town board meetings.
Mm.
Too, I mean, I go
Yeah.
because it's my evening entertainment, no.
You're a woman. Let me think about some really good TV shows.
Hulu, Netflix.
But that's how it started,
Yeah,
but that's what, but I can't always be there, like I was late, but Rebecca was there.
I was
Well,
gonna be
this
there
time.
last Tuesday,
Yeah.
but unfortunately I had a headache and
That's all right.
couldn't go.
Oh, we do
Well-
have a liaison, so Michael,
So, yeah,
this is an important piece here.
yeah,
When you give reports to the board. I guess I was assuming you were letting them know we were working on these topics. I'm not sure how this, you know. I thought that was what the liaison did. So just FYI, maybe miscommunication on what your role is.
Well, so like the ag district issue, that came up. I thought that was a done deal, but then it came up.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we felt like we needed to go ask Nate's opinion. The planning board had already weighed in on it. Now we got Nate's decision, and as you've sensed in the other one, these things become rushed. And says, you know, no, this isn't so, and it's okay to vote like this. And you think, oh, okay, well, you know, this is all good. These people are all good people, and they're after our best interest. I felt bamboozled over it, and I've apologized to you guys before for, I'll say voting. Apparently, we didn't vote, but supporting the that ag district issue. But then, you know, then this other one comes up with the Moors, and so there's things that come up, and they feel rushed. And then, like a subject matter expert comes in, and it's always Nate. You know, oh, Nate said this, Nate said that. Oh, this is okay. We need to approve it. So I'm starting to question things more. That says, okay, is this really, and does this really need to be rushed? So I'm trying to do better in
Thank you.
communications items, you know, with you guys, because you know you guys have a lot of horsepower here. You guys have a lot of expertise that I don't have. So I want to make sure that whatever you guys say, that I say the same thing.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Beat that horse.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, it's
please.
9:00. It's my bedtime.
Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
All in
All
favor?
right, aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Good
Michael.
job, guys.
Thank you all. Have a good night.